Now, this is of course our continuous coverage of the phase 6 of Lok Sabha polls. Voting for 58 Lok Sabha seats across 8 states and union territories has come to an end, and all 7 constituencies went to vote in the national capital. Delhi, remember, voted amidst a blistering heat wave. There's a red alert going on, and IMD has in fact sounded that red alert. The numbers still now have not really been very enthusiastic from North India, but it is West Bengal that really has stolen the show with over 70% voter turnout till last official numbers came in at around 5 p.m. We'll of course be updating all of those numbers once the final voter turnout data is out, but all eyes now on on June 4th on what the results really come out to be. Is it going to be a Modi wave, a third term for the Modi government? Is it going to be a hat-trick for the Modi government, or will that hat-trick be broken by the INDIA alliance coming into power? In fact, the last phase of Lok Sabha polls is all set to take place on June 1. We'll of course be joined by two stellar guests, political analysts, to decode what happened today and of course over the past few phases. But let's first go across to my colleague Aishwarya to get an overview of today's election and voting patterns. Aishwarya, give us a sense of what have people really been voting for. And it seems that the heat did really seem to dampen the spirits of Delhi. It's not really very encouraging trends coming out as far as voter turnout data is concerned.
Phase 6 of India's general elections have summed up, and I'm at Kartavya Path currently. I see more people at Kartavya Path and India Gate right now than I did at the polling booths in New Delhi. As far as the voter turnout is concerned, it stood at an average of 57% in Phase 6. Specifically speaking, Bihar saw 52%, Haryana 55%, Jammu and Kashmir about 51%, and Jharkhand actually saw tad bit more, 61%. As far as Delhi is concerned, that stood at 53% overall. So the heat wave was probably one of the reasons we saw lower voter turnout, is what the feeling is. And while we were in New Delhi at some of the booths, we saw head honchos exercise their vote. Even senior citizens and the elderly, despite the heat wave, despite in fact, a few of them actually came through an ambulance just to cast their vote. Voters above 90 years of age did come and exercise their right to vote, but youngsters were the one that were missing, both in Mumbai as well as New Delhi. So the urge is that in the next phase, which is the last phase, phase 7, we'll see more voters exercising their right to vote.
All right, thank you, Aishwarya, for getting us a roundup of what went around today. And clearly, not very many Delhiites actually coming out to cast their ballot. And to discuss this further and the key trends in some of the top constituencies across the country, I'm now joined by Rashid Kidwai, Indian journalist and author, and Madhavan Narayanan as well, who's a senior journalist as well. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us this evening on ET Now and taking the time out. My first question to you, Mr. Kidwai. I mean, the voter turnout, as of several reports stating, it stands at 57.7% as far as Delhi is concerned. But several interesting contests have happened across the country. But one particular contest that is of interest and has garnered national headlines is that of the Aam Aadmi Party and BJP playing out in the national capital. Now, the opposition has made a pitched rhetoric against the alleged misuse of institutions, the ending of democracy if the BJP once again comes to polls. But how is really the Arvind Kejriwal factor, the fact that he's come out of jail and now he's on bail and will be going back to jail once again? Is he being really seen as a scam-tainted politician or as a victim, alleged victim of agencies? I mean, what are people really thinking? Because he's somebody who came on the strong plank of Aam Aadmi Party against corruption. Please help us understand that. Also help us understand what is really at stake for the Aam Aadmi Party this time around, and what does the outcome really mean for Aam Aadmi Party's national ambitions?
There are two things that the points you have raised. First of all, corruption, allegations of corruptions in terms of on the political turf is a double-edged sword. Sometimes it works against the contender or the political party, and sometimes it helps in the sense that it strengthens the core voter, and there is a sense of victimhood and all. And if we look at Arvind Kejriwal and his style of campaigning, the kind of support base he has, he is actually very good at spreading that message that he's being jailed for some kind of political conspiracy, or there is some politics is involved. The matter is actually sub judice. We are not in a position to take a view. But one thing is there: if Mr. Narendra Modi fails to get a clear majority, his strategy will be to be blamed. Because look at how. See, we know that in 2014, Aam Aadmi Party emerged at the expense of the Congress. And in 2024, within 10 years, we have that Aam Aadmi Party and Congress having a alliance. Whether alliance will work or whether alliance will, fetch some seats, as I said, we'll get to know on June 4th. But it has given opposition a leg up in Delhi. There is a talk that the verdict may be in favor of BJP, but 4-3. Earlier it was 7-0. If it happens 4-3, I think the opposition is in game, because that would mean that in Haryana, in Punjab, in Jammu Kashmir, a lot of places we are going to see this kind of verdict, because Delhi, as we know, is somewhat is a nerve center. In 3-4 past elections, whichever way Delhi is voted, the political party that has won Delhi has ruled, Delhi in terms of a national government. So therefore, Delhi election is very crucial. Let's see, who gains in the capital.
Very interesting point, Mr. Kidwai, that you bring about Delhi, the fact that the voter knows the pulse and what's really happening within political circles, and whoever gets elected to Delhi eventually ends up forming the government. And the last time it happened with BJP. At this point, let me go across to you, Mr. Madhavan. Do you agree with what Mr. Kidwai has been saying? Is it also playing out in other states, and is this, first of all, do you agree with that playing out in the national capital?
I'm sorry, what do you, yeah, if you're talking about the rise of the Aam Aadmi Party, you have to understand that, one thing is that it is technically now a national party, which it was not in the last election. So that is a certificate from the Election Commission of India. Apart from the fact that in this past 5 years, Punjab, Haryana, and Himachal have also become important for Aam Aadmi Party. But more important is because there is the India Alliance, which basically means that votes that were running into each other are now consolidated. And usually what happens in elections is that people do not like to, as they say in India, waste their votes. So when there is a higher chance of winning, that increases also the votes in favor of the party. So that way, there is a lot of things going in for both Aam Aadmi Party and India Alliance. However, BJP's organizational machinery is strong, and from all indications, there are issues like the Ram Mandir or other issues that even welfare schemes that in states like UP and MP and Rajasthan will benefit the BJP. We can't put a finger on exactly the degree, but in MP seems to be probably a very strong state for BJP right now. But one important thing that in respect to what you and Rashid were discussing is that the corruption allegation, which was central to BJP's narrative, has taken a backseat for two reasons. One is that after the electoral bonds verdict of the Supreme Court, the BJP is unable to take that holier than thou stand, which was there earlier. And therefore, there is you can match an allegation with an allegation. So you have the excise scam against Aam Aadmi Party. Then the other thing that has very interestingly happened is that Arvind Kejriwal has successfully converted, I would say so. I mean, it appears to me in terms of narrative, and even the low turnout, according to me, apart from the heat wave, signals the fact that the Delhi voter can be confused. So a lot of people like to sit at home rather than go in the heat wave and press the nota button. So that is very significant for me, because what Arvind Kejriwal has done very shrewdly is that he has created a certain scenario where he's playing the victim instead of what the BJP paints him out to be. And given that he's very articulate, and given that in Delhi, Aam Aadmi Party has a very strong organization machinery, that might be working for him. I do not know what it means in other states of India. As I told you, MP, I would stick my neck out and say MP is a sweep for BJP. But I can't say that about, it's a very tough for BJP in Bihar and Haryana and Punjab. In fact, Haryana is the opposite of MP. I would say that there's a very clear edge against BJP. So every state differs. So it's going to be very interesting. But Delhi is very interesting. I mean, I would like to read something in the turnout that is more than just the heat wave because it is unusually low. Delhiites are slightly more. I haven't compared it with the last time. So that is there. Let us see how it goes. But I think Aam Aadmi Party has managed to sort of arrest the narrative, although there has been a last minute, you know, embarrassment for Arvind Kejriwal in that Swati Maliwal episode
Right.
where his own party, Rajya Sabha MPs, ranged against the
Absolutely.
leadership in some way or the other. So I cannot, if it affects the women's votes, then BJP is got something swinging. And as Rashid said, if it is 4-3, as many of us think, it's going to be some way 4-3. Now, which is 4, which is 3 is what we are debating right now. But well, it goes to show that Aam Aadmi, I'm looking beyond
you're
this.
saying that it's going to be a closely contested battle. You're looking at a closely contested battle between the Aam Aadmi Party and the BJP, and this is what Mr. Kidwai was
yeah,
also
as far
mentioning.
as-
Mr.
as far as-
Kidwai,
yeah,
Mr. Madhwan mentioned a very very important point about corruption allegations. The fact that now BJP cannot really take a moral high ground, considering how that case related to poll data really played out. But let me also quote from what the Prime Minister said about last week when he was campaigning in northeastern Delhi. He said that he left the home of 140 crore people. He left his home, and 140 crore people are his family and are his heirs. He was attacking dynasty politics. He was saying that Paramatma ne mujhe desh ki seva ke liye bheja hai. So that kind of a stance. So there is one thing when you speak about the BJP, but another thing when you speak about Prime Minister Narendra Modi, as you may have also seen in several contests, when you vote for national election, it is a vote for Prime Minister Modi, as has happened in the past two elections, 2014 and 2019. However, state elections are a completely different thing altogether. So how do you think that has played out? The corruption narrative has really played out vis-a-vis the Prime Minister's image.
Yeah, so I think Prime Minister's image is a oddly sort of solid thing or a hope for NDA alliance. If NDA indeed crosses 300 mark, it will be Prime Minister's kind of personal achievement. He has put his own prestige at stake, and if you look at the popularity ratings, Prime Minister Modi's popularity ratings continues to be very high. But there comes the catch. If you look at that welfareism, then a lot of regional parties or regional leaders are matching that. If you look at Karnataka, you look at Telangana, you look at Delhi. When it comes to women vote, that is also a big plus for Mr. Modi. But again, women are equally, in terms of politically inclined, attracted towards Siddharamaiah, those various guarantees, or Mamata Banerjee, or again Arvind Kejriwal, Naveen Patnaik, several of them. So it's a very fierce battle. The battle is being fought in states where the regional allies seems to be doing well. It all depends how Congress comes up. If Congress is anywhere close to 100 Lok Sabha seats, I think the BJP will be in big trouble. And if the Congress is below 50, BJP will be easily 350. If Congress is 75 and more, then the BJP will be under 300, but comfortable to form the government. Lot of apprehensions are being expressed that if there is a change of government, that it will lead to a lot of policy changes. My friend Madhvan Narayanan understands economics better than me, but let me tell you that there will be no change as far as the India Alliance is concerned. There are many players or people who matter, who have a same vision or same kind of commitment towards reforms and growth, etc. So it's not going to be a lot of fear mongering that is taking place. We have seen there have been several coalition governments, but coalition governments stayed on post 1991. That kind of economic development or progress, or what we call it as an India story.
Right. Right, Mr. Kidwai, very, very interesting points made. And of course, we'll take a short break at this point and we'll discuss all of those points that you've mentioned and many more right after this very short break.
अरे कहाँ चल दिए दादाजी? इन बूढ़े घुटनों को थोड़ा आराम दे दो।
घर बैठे पेंशन आती है बेटा, इससे घुटनों को आराम है। आयुष्मान से 5 लाख का ऑपरेशन एकदम फ्री हो गया। तो बूढ़े घुटने एकदम से आरामदायक हो गए। अब तो 70 साल से ऊपर के सभी को अब आयुष्मान में शामिल करने वाले हैं। ये बूढ़े घुटने दौड़ के जाएंगे ना फिर से वापस लाने मोदी को।
क्या चौका मारा है दादाजी ने।
कमल का बटन दबाएं, भाजपा को जिताएं।
Take me home.
New Seltos with advanced Kia Connect. Tech is now badass.
Kia, movement that inspires.
No buck, non-stop dhak, non-stop music on Sunrise Hits. रोज सुबह 8 से 10 सिर्फ Zoom पर.
Premium Group CSR initiative, Swati, is committed to empowering women by tapping into their unexplored potential, especially among those disadvantaged by socio-economic factors.
Educating women isn't just about individual empowerment, but also about shaping entire generations.
Watch this inspiring feature, showcasing Premium Group as one of India's most responsible companies. Only on ET Now.
किसानों को जारी रहेगी 6,000 रुपए की सम्मान निधि। यह है मोदी की गारंटी।
Welcome back. You're watching ET Now and our continuous coverage of the Lok Sabha elections. Sixth phase of polling went on today, and of course one of the hotly contested constituencies or geographies has been Delhi, where there's been a pitched battle between the Aam Aadmi Party and the BJP. We were in conversation before going into break with of course our two very special guests here on the show, and let me go across to them. Mr. Rashid Kidwai and Mr. Madhavan Narayanan, both political analysts. I want to also now understand the religion factor is something that has played out during past two Lok Sabha elections. Mr. Narayanan, are issues like Ram Mandir, Mangal Sutra, and most importantly wealth distribution still really relevant vis-a-vis inflation or the changing nature of jobs or even getting jobs? What really is then the key difference that you're seeing in 2019 elections, 2014 elections, and 2024 general elections?
Let me first differentiate between the word difference and differentiator. The differentiator is a campaign issue. Difference is a ground reality issue. So let me pick up from where Rashid Kidwai was saying. He was kind enough to remember my economics background and, as a business journalist. I do agree with him that, it was the Congress party that started the economic reforms in 91. It has people like former Finance Minister Chidambaram and Dr. Manmohan Singh himself. So if anybody is talking about a leftward shift because of India Alliance coming to power, they're wrong, except for the fact that some of the extra emphasis that is given on infrastructure by the BJP might shift towards agriculture and services, and that might have sectoral impacts, but it's not going to be there. But it's interesting that Mr. Modi has been focusing more on the threats rather than the opportunities in the election campaign. One differentiating factor is that Congress has been focusing, or India Alliance has been focusing on the opportunities for the people, and whereas Mr. Modi's campaign has been focusing on threats to the majority as he sees it, because his campaign speeches this year have left very little to the imagination. There's a lot of innuendo built around either minorities and some kind of a threat that Hindus seem to be facing, or the backward caste among Hindus may be facing from quotas, sub-quotas and things like that. And also the inheritance tax issue, which is actually a non-issue because it is never on the table from the Congress point of view. Only a stray argument by Mr. Sam Pitroda did it. But the fact that these issues are being taken and Modi is actually making a big deal out of it shows that there is a tendency to emphasize this as a huge social engineering exercise that might affect stability, economic growth, as well as some of the welfare of the established elite. Now, what to me appears is that if you look at inflation and economic unemployment that you mentioned, there are two issues at stake. One is that inflation is not an economist's idea of inflation. The ordinary citizens like to see any price rise as inflation, and therefore, if there is no matching income increase, they feel sort of disoriented or get into an anti-incumbent mood. And it is possible to read some of Mr. Modi's speeches as a response to this, so that he wants to focus the attention of the people on non-economic issues or bigger threats to actually take the attention away from what could be everyday reality issues. As far as unemployment is concerned, that's another issue, because although there are lots of data to show that there has been the jobs growth has not been significant. This week's big anecdote thing is that there are 7,000 IITians who have not been placed. So some of those issues are related to specific skill sets and qualifications. Right. But there is no doubt that in an economy in which 1 million people are entering the workforce every month, the kind of jobs needed to create a huge impact has not been there. A lot of development is on infrastructure, which is all capital intensive by and large. Therefore, those two issues are ground reality issues. So electorally, what it means is that this was not on the table in 2014 and 19. 2014 was a lot about strong leadership and attempted end to corruption. 2019 was Pulwama and some of the national security issues, along with a certain benefit of the doubt given to Mr. Modi for his decisive personality. Now, both these factors, all the factors of 2014 and 19 are absent. And instead of that, we have the electoral bonds verdict. We also have inflation and unemployment in varying degrees, although statistically it's not significant enough, or there are no street protests, but it's significant enough electorally. So what it means is that is what is
Mr. Madhavan, I'll have to butt in here and take a final response. I'll have to take a final response from Mr. Kidwai, since we are completely running out of time. What do you really make of what was different in 2014, 2019 and 2024? 2019, while it was all about the Modi wave, 24 was fought on the plank of anti-corruption, and 2024, do you really think that the Prime Minister and the way his cabinet ministers have really propagated, BJP spokespersons have propagated the idea of development or the idea of a Viksit Bharat, and the way some of their policies have really come in and have rejuvenated the manufacturing ecosystem? Do you think that's finding resonance amongst the voters? Mr. Kidwai, one final comments from you.
Yeah. So it is very interesting, and that is not a talking point. You see, unfortunately, we have fortunately, we have a very secular polity, but we have very, communal politics. And this election is a manifestation of it. So while Modi government is doing a lot of welfareism, there is a lot of benefits that do not make a distinction between minority, majority, etc. This whole election campaign has been very toxic, and I would say somewhat irrelevant. The BJP has put all those emotive issues in a basket, hoping that it will, reap a very rich harvest. I have my own doubts. So if it is the verdict is in favor of Mr. Modi, but less than 300, less than 272, then I think there is going to be a lot of problems in the time to come.
Right, so if it is less than 272 is going to be problematic for the BJP. On that note, gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us. We just have a week to go for the long-drawn election battle to end. But then one is reminded of former British Prime Minister Harold Wilson's famous quip. He said, "A week is a long time in politics." And indeed, what happens on June 4th is anybody's guess. On that note, viewers, it's time's up from us and, of course, our election coverage. Thank you very much for staying tuned with ET Now. This is Sumita Karir signing off.
If you like this video, then like, share and subscribe to ET Now.